נברך את מעיין חיינו, שכינת העולם שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה, לזמן הזה.
Hello, I'm Rabbi Bradley Shavit Artson, and I am the Abner and Rosalind Goldstein Dean of the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies in Los Angeles. I have the pleasure of being with my colleague and friend Rabbi Ed Feinstein of Valley Beth Shalom, one of the preeminent congregations in North America, also located in the San Fernando Valley just down the hill from us. Welcome, Eddie.
Thank you,
Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
I wanted to start this conversation by asking you to reflect on something personal, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I know that earlier this summer your daughter was married.
Yes.
The first child in your family to be married. So we're all thinking about this season in terms of our own life trajectory. What is the harvest you walked away now that you can look back at it? What do you take with you from that event?
All of the times that I've been at bar mitzvahs and weddings and listened to the band play Sunrise, Sunset, and came to realize the deep truth in that particular song. When Nessa was in second grade, I came to the synagogue and enrolled her and her siblings in the day school. And she met 5 girls. 6 little girls became a crew together. In second grade, they were 7 years old. So we have pictures of their birthday parties, we have pictures of their bat mitzvahs. They stayed together through junior high school, through high school. In college, they went to different universities, but they corresponded. And these 5 girls were her bridesmaids at the wedding. And to see these 5 young women now having grown up and having shared life together and beginning this next stage of married life, of beginning families together. And then when Nessa decided how to put her wedding together, she made another decision which I was very proud of. She asked the other rabbis I work with in the synagogue if their children would be the flower girls and the ring bearer in the wedding. Because Nessa, we determined, was the first rabbi's child to be married at Valley Beth Shalom, in the sanctuary of Valley Beth Shalom. And she thought it would be a lovely symbol to say to these girls that someday you too should have this kind of happiness. So to see these generations of kids having grown up together and then at the same time beginning again was a very powerful thing. The passage of time happens without our noticing it. Our kids get bigger and they get older and our parents age, but of course we don't. We simply go through the routines of daily life. It's these kinds of milestones that come and remind us that life has moved forward, that we have changed. She also decided to get married on this particular date, which was our anniversary. So Nina and I celebrated our 33rd anniversary at the wedding, and my in-laws' 62nd anniversary at the wedding as well. And Rabbi Showeiss, who's my teacher, it was his 65th anniversary on the same date. It was quite a day. But again, the way that time passes, and that you stop at these moments, and the moments arrest the routine, and you look back at where you've come, and how every one of the myriad decisions you made, decisions made without sufficient information and certainly without sufficient wisdom, how they added up to arrive at a certain place. And that's what the tradition, in the folk tradition, would call beshert. And that's what I think the more philosophical tradition would call providence.
Yes.
You know, there's a line in the book of Psalms that says, Shomer Pittaim Adonai, God watches over fools. And I stood beneath the chuppah with my wife and my daughter and my sons and my family, and I said, Amen.
Beautiful. You know, I think as we gear up in this time of year, thinking about the cycles of time and its passage, one of the things that moments like that offer us is the chance to step out on a balcony and to take a look at our lives rather than simply flow in it, and to harvest.
Right.
To be able to harvest the blessings of a wonderful daughter in this case, a wonderful son-in-law, families coming together, thinking of the people who aren't physically present, and also of our own trajectory along that line where we're moving. There's something very wholesome, I think, about being able to step back and simply acknowledge where you're at.
Right, it's at that from that vantage that you can say, I see the pattern.
Yes.
It's what my teacher David Hartman used to call upstairs and downstairs history. Downstairs history is the flow of events that seems so random. It's only at these very special moments that you climb upstairs on the balcony.
Right.
And suddenly, now I see the picture. Now I see that somehow it makes sense. And I can see how the decisions were stitches in this tapestry that gave us these remarkable moments. And for those moments we live. For these moments we live.
Well, and I guess, for me also, and I would imagine for you as well, and invested as we are in Jewish life and Jewish learning, when these moments come together in a Jewish ritual, there's an added layer. I remember when my daughter Shira had her bat mitzvah, and when the ceremony was over, all of the guests left the sanctuary to go into the social hall for the party. And I sat there feeling a feeling I couldn't really identify. And it took me a few minutes to realize that what that feeling was complete satisfaction. I didn't need anything. I wasn't thirsty or hungry or needing to socialize. I was completely fed. Right. And so at these kinds of moments, when the people you love and the tradition you live come together, there's a wholeness to it.
Yes, the dance is danced for no other reason than a sheer expression, an explosion of joy.
Right.
That comes from within. It doesn't need to be justified.
No.
The moment is its own justification, and there are very few moments in life which you can say are their own justification. And the other thing that was wonderful is, I think I can reveal this without too much breach of confidence, is that my son-in-law came to Judaism on his own. He was born into a wonderful, wonderful family, religious Methodist family. Somewhere around his 13th year, he announced to his youth minister that he'd had enough with the church and that he was going on his own way.
Yes.
And he took a journey to try to find his own truth. And in various traditions and philosophical patterns, and he found his way to Torah. And that's where my daughter met him. My daughter met him at Hillel at university and called me and said, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is he's not Jewish. The good news is he makes Shabbos better than me. So Daniel, my new son-in-law, came to this out of his own heart, and he brought his family, and we were concerned that this family would find a place in our circle. Not only did they find a place, not only did they dance with such joy, did they kvel, if that's the right Methodist word, over the Shabbat that we celebrated and then the wedding that we celebrated, but you don't understand the depth of your own ritual until you see it through the eyes of people who have never seen it before, who have never seen the chuppah, who have never heard the words of Sheva Brachot, who have never sat at a Jewish wedding feast, have never said the blessings, have never felt this kind of experience, and they were so overjoyed, and they were so appreciative of the structure of faith and ritual woven into family life and community life. They were so taken with this that all of the groomsmen and the bridesmaids who came from Daniel's community said to me that, is it possible to have a Jewish wedding even if you're not Jewish?
That's great.
He said, we can arrange something.
Yes, exactly. So that leads me to a related topic that I'd like us to explore. You and I both have been very actively involved in reaching out to anyone who expresses an interest in being part of Jewish life and the Jewish community. I know that your congregation was an early pioneer in making the place accessible through K. Reuven.
Right.
Here with the Miller Introduction to Judaism program and our Center for Jewish Outreach, we've been very assertive in trying to be welcoming. And part of what that leads to is, for some Jews, something that's frightening, which is a dissociation between Judaism as an ethnic identity and Judaism as a matter of biology, as opposed to Judaism as a core collection of ideas and practices and values shared by a living community. But one of the things that I've noticed in speaking around the world to Jewish communities is the Jewish community is growing more ethnically diverse. There are Jews who are African Americans and Latino and Asians There are gay, lesbian, trans Jews. There are people from all different walks of life. And I think in some ways you have to make a decision whether you're going to see that as something that dilutes what we've had and be afraid of it and try to resist it or slow it down, or whether you're going to say, well, I don't know where this ride is going. It's been a great ride so far, and I'm willing to take it. Mm-hmm. So I know for me that I've already made that leap, that I know that Judaism has what to offer the world, and that it can successfully compete in the marketplace of ideas if we present it on its own terms. There will be wonderful human beings who will find their way into our traditions and our practice and make it theirs. I want to hear your thoughts as obviously someone who's now the father-in-law of someone who made that trip.
Right.
Where does that place us in terms of our journey?
My teacher, Harold Schulweis, if there's any tenet of his belief, it's that when dealing with Torah, when dealing with the spiritual life of Jews, we must never allow ourselves to be caught in either or choices. Mm-hmm. Schulweis is a both-and Jew. And in this case, I think that the community gets caught up in a very nasty either or. Either you reach out to the world and open the doors and welcome in, or you preserve the core of the most committed and you preserve the Judaism of that once was. That is a very nasty either or, because it excludes a middle. And the middle is our discovery in our experience at Valley Beth Shalom, and I think the discovery of many communities across the world. Outreach is inreach. Mm-hmm. That in order to do outreach possible, in order to make outreach possible and effective, it's necessary for people to become deeply invested and proud of their own faith and able to communicate that faith to people on the outside. So we had a seminar for members of the congregation who were willing to be mentors to new Jews. And there were people in the synagogue who said to us, I never understood the rituals of the Sabbath table until you taught me how to explain them to non-Jews. I never understood how the synagogue is organized geographically, how the bima and the Torah, where the steps are, what all this means, what the choreography of the prayer book means, until you taught me how to explain this to outsiders. And Jews, for some reason, and I suppose it's every culture, do not become as proud of their faith in any other time than when they're expressing it to a non-Jew, to someone from the outside, who's interested, who's concerned, who wants to know. Outreach is inreach, and therefore I don't think this is a choice. I think this is a both and. We have to preserve the wonderful, warm culture of the Jewish people. Now I would correct you and say it's not race, it's not ethnicity in a biological sense, it's culture. Mm-hmm. And culture is communicated in ethnic communities, but it's also open to others who want to come and join. It's culture, it's language, it's literature, it's food, it's ethics, it's gestures, it's mannerisms, it's a way of being in the world. Jewish culture needs to be protected, preserved, celebrated, grown, nurtured, expanded, and at the same time, the door must be open to those who would come and join us, because our values speak to their souls, to the resonance of their souls, to their need for purpose, and for a sense of belonging, and for a sense of God in life.
So let me frame it this way then. I think that Jewish culture has many different garments, mm-hmm. and it has looked different across time.
Yeah.
At its core, it has always been the act of translating Torah mm-hmm. from a book into a way of life. Mm-hmm. So preserving that Torah core, but expressing it in the understanding of each new age and each place, that's not new. Mm-hmm. What's new is that for the first time, perhaps in a long time, if ever, we now have a world that's actually interested in what Torah has to offer.
Well, it's the first time since the Roman Empire.
Right.
So it happened during the Roman Empire.
Although the circumstances weren't quite so good.
True.
But that's right. And so here we are now in an age in which what we hold precious mm-hmm. is now of deep interest culturally across various communities. And to be unafraid and to be able to say, yes, this will change things, but it will enrich.
Absolutely.
And it will create a new harvest. That's something that we can take with us both as a people, and it's something we can take with us as we approach the holidays. I want to thank you, Rabbi Ed Feinstein from Valley Beth Shalom, for helping to participate in such a wonderful conversation. Thank you for listening. I look forward to joining you in further discussions.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.